The friends and family round is the first time most founders have tried to raise money from investors. And if you make a mistake, it can screw over the people who are trying to help you, torpedo your next investment round, and ruin Thanksgiving forever. So in this episode, I want to tell you how to do it right. And at the end, I'm going to give you a tool that does the hardest part for you. You can just send it to your investors and it will explain everything that they need to know. Welcome to Feel the Boot, the science of startups. I'm your host, Lance Cottrell, an exited founder and active angel investor, and I'm here to help you climb that nearly vertical learning curve you're going to encounter as you build your startup. Your friends and family really want to help you and your business succeed, but they probably really don't understand what it is you're asking of them. So there's a couple of things it's critical that you make clear to them. And the first is that this is an investment, not a loan. This is not something that's going to get paid back. It has a very high degree of risk. Right? The odds are that they are going to lose their entire investment. There's a very small chance of very high returns. They're getting in extremely early at probably a very low valuation. But until you go through an exit, they will be totally illiquid. There's no way for them to easily get their money back out. And that's probably not the way they're thinking about this at first. They absolutely need to understand that they are shareholders in your company and not partners. This is not some limited liability corporation. They're not joining you on this journey. They're investing cash into the business and getting a piece of the ownership, but not operational involvement. They may also be surprised to discover that the percentage of the company they own will shrink with time. As you give out stock options and bring in additional investors, they will get a smaller and smaller piece of what is hopefully a bigger and bigger pie. This may be surprising, but you need to encourage them to understand that this is in fact a good thing. When you're bringing in more investors, it means the business is being successful and growing, and that's how success is going to come at the end of the day. And make sure you explain what you're going to do with the money. What's the use of funds? How are you going to spend this? How does taking this money in help the business hit the next milestones that will allow you to grow the company and potentially raise rounds from outside disinterested investors like angels and VCs? It's important for them to know that this is not just going straight into your pocket. It's not going to pay your rent. It's not going to help you buy that next car. This is an investment to grow the business, and it is vital to the functioning and success of the company. It is critically important to document this investment completely and carefully. Nothing can be casual about this. It should not be a handshake deal or a verbal agreement. You want to make sure that they're on your cap table and you have all of the contracts signed supporting the investment and their ownership. This is both to protect them, but even more to ensure that you are able to do your next funding rounds. If an investor comes in and sees that there's any ownership on your cap table that's not fully documented and supported by agreements and contracts, they will run for the hills because that's just asking for lawsuits down the road. When you document it, I recommend you keep it simple and use a SAFE, a simple agreement for future equity. That's a tool that was created by Y Combinator, and I'll put a link down in the description to the standard templates. All you need to fill out there is the cap on the valuation, any discount, and that's basically it. It guarantees that they will get whatever deal your next large investor gets. They'll be the ones that are negotiating everything, and you're not asking your friends and family to do any negotiating or understand all of the terms and conditions that go into a priced equity round. Now, the downside of safes is they can look a little bit weird. Right? If your family is reading through the document, they're going to realize that they're not actually getting anything when they sign the safe and pay you the money. It's a promise to give them something later at an undetermined price when there's a conversion event. So it may take a little bit of time to talk them down, and the tool that I'm going to give you helps walk them through that and will hopefully convince them that this is a normal thing to do, because in fact it is. The safe is the most common instrument used for investors in early stage companies throughout the world. And because you're probably going to dictate the terms to them because they're not sophisticated investors, give them a good deal. These are your friends and family. They're coming in incredibly early, usually earlier than any rational investor would. This round is often called the friends, family, and fools round for a good reason. So give them a generous discount because they're coming in so early, maybe even a 50% discount to the next round, where more often 20 is standard. And one of the covenants that you can put into a safe is called MFN, Most Favored Nation status. It means that if you bring in an investor later and give them a better deal for whatever reason, these people have the ability to convert to take that deal instead. It protects them. It makes sure that these people who are supporting you in these very early days are getting the best deal possible. And that really is the key to managing this round. There's a very unequal distribution of knowledge and power. And whereas usually when you're raising money, the knowledge and power is in the hands of the investors, in this case, you know more and have more control than your friends and family on the whole. So the ethical and necessary thing to do is to make sure that you're doing the right thing by them. If you do the wrong thing, Thanksgiving may be extremely awkward for a very long time into the future. Be honest with them about where you are in your journey and your realistic prospects. Don't paint an overly rosy picture that they're then going to be wondering why things aren't going as well as you projected that they would. Try to be realistic about this and keep them in the loop. Nothing's worse than an unhappy surprise 2 years in. Whereas if you're giving them updates once a month or once a quarter, they'll know what's going on, they'll see how hard you're working, they'll see the progress that you're making, and it will make them much more comfortable with the outcome, even if that outcome isn't everything you'd hoped for. And to make sure that this is an appropriate investment for these people. Often if people don't have extremely deep pockets, this could be a substantial chunk of their assets. You should never be asking anyone to make an investment that they can't reasonably afford to lose and have locked up for a decade or more in any case. You want to keep that in mind. So if someone's got limited means, even though you might like to be taking a bigger investment, make sure you don't. Take what they can afford to lose in this so that you're not putting them in a really difficult position. When I was raising money from my family early on, I was a penniless grad student when I started my company. My folks helped me out. They were not rich, they were college professors, and in fact, their financial advisor basically bullied them into putting most of their assets into a structure that they couldn't access to invest in me because they'd seen too many startups. Founders drain their parents dry and wipe out all of their retirement savings on the company because the parents always think, oh, this next check might get them out of there. So I couldn't ever disagree with what this guy gave them as advice. Make sure that you're not putting your parents and friends into that kind of situation. Being honest with your investors about your prospects and current situation means knowing that yourself. And that's why I built my startup fundraising toolkit. It shows you exactly where you stand, where your weaknesses are, and what you need to work on next. It's completely free and you can get it at feeltheboot.com/raise. And finally, here's a tool that you can share with your investors that I told you about at the beginning. It's a video I created here on YouTube. You can just send them the link. I'll put the link up there and down in the description. It walks through all of this information. It talks about what a safe is. It talks about what kind of an investment they're going into. And the best thing is it's coming from someone who's disinterested and an outsider. I've got expertise. I've done this hundreds of times with other founders. I've worked with hundreds of different investors. So I can speak authoritatively and explain why what you're asking is very reasonable and exactly how that's going to work. I encourage you to go ahead and send that to anyone who's a friend or family who's thinking about investing in your company. Thanks for watching this episode. Don't forget to get your free startup fundraising toolkit at feeltheboot.com/raise. If you found this episode useful, please support the channel by liking, subscribing, and ringing that bell. It makes a huge difference. I would really appreciate it. And it makes sure you get more content like this. Now, once you raise the money from your family, it's important that your startup succeeds. So go check out this video here on the top 10 startup killers and how to avoid them. And until next time, ciao.